Morning folks, welcome to the gorgeous Isle of Harris. I tell you what, we have timed this trip well. Snow on the Harris Hills, it is absolutely beautiful. If you're a photographer and you've tried to time a visit here in the winter for snow on the hills, if you get it, you're very, very lucky. So we've been extremely fortunate this week. I'm down at Luskentyre. Now I did film here last year, so I don't really want to labour the filming here too much. I think what I'll do is just show you some of the images that I've been shooting, because we've got a bigger shoot lined up this afternoon which I'm going to film properly. But just to talk you through some of the stuff I've been doing, I've just been working on some longer exposures and more minimal compositions, which really suits the landscape down here. You know, you can come to a lot of these amazing beaches and almost look to complicate it a bit too much, whereas here it really benefits just ultra clean, simple compositions. We got here just before sunrise and we had a little bit of pink glow in the sky, which was nice. It's a little bit harsh now, but what I'm just trying to do here at the minute is I'm just waiting for the sun just to crest over the hill behind me. And what it's going to do is it's going to start lighting up the waves as they break on the shore here. So I'm probably going to have to wait another maybe 15-20 minutes. I've got my composition lined up, going in a little bit tighter on the Harris Hills in the distance there in portrait format. And as I say, I'm just waiting for the sun just to get up high enough to light some of these waves. But I'll show you some of the images that I've been shooting earlier on the screen now. Because as I say, I don't really want to labour the filming here too much. We've got a big shoot, as I say, lined up this afternoon. Bit of a walk to a secluded beach, which really looking forward to. Just want to shoot something a bit different, because as beautiful as Harris is, you can get suckered into just going round the same 3 or 4 beaches over and over again, because they're so stunning. It's hard to pull yourself away from them. So we're going to try something different anyway. But right now, I'm just going to wait for this sun to come up and hopefully get this shot. So folks, as you can see, I'm back in the gallery, but I just wanted to jump in here quickly just to show you a few of the images that I didn't actually get to do a lot of filming around. Now, there was reasons for that. Now, I don't know whether it was just I was in the wrong frame of mind, or the conditions didn't really pan out as we thought they were going to, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't get going on this trip. Now, you may look at some of these images and think, well, you know, what are you complaining about? And in hindsight, having processed these images now, I was pretty pleased with some of them in the end. I'm certainly more positive about them now than I was when I was shooting them. But yeah, it was a tricky trip. We arrived in these amazing conditions with snow on the hills and snow on the ground as well. But what actually happened after that, those conditions kind of fizzled out very quickly. We ended up on the wrong side of the weather system that was coming in over the UK, and we got really warm weather where everyone else was getting -6, -7 hoarfrosts down south. So the snow that you see in the video really evaporated quite quickly. It was like 9-10 degrees most of the days we were there. So yeah, just a few of these images. The first ones I'm going to show you, these were taken with the drone. Now I've just upgraded to the Mavic 3 Classic, which has got a bigger 4/3 sensor in it. And I really enjoyed using this actually. These shots here were taken really close to where we were based. Now I'd spied this location ahead of time on OS Maps using the top-down sort of satellite view. And these patterns that lead out into the estuary are absolutely amazing. And I managed to catch some of these shots just as we had a nice little bit of side light. So yeah, so this one on the screen, this is a pano made up of about, I don't know, about 5 or 6 images, something like that, to incorporate the road. So I was really pleased with this one. This one turned out really well. And then I moved the drone about 90 degrees to the left of this point, and we were shooting the view up towards sort of Luscantire and out towards the bay. But again, these patterns in the sand looking down from up high looked absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I was really actually quite pleased with these. It's easy to dismiss drone photography sometimes. I had a comment in one of my Instagram posts about drone photography, and this guy was very dismissive about, you know, drone images and stuff, which I think is a real shame, because it does a real disservice to people who specialise and are, you know, really good at drone photography. It's, my view is, it's a camera like any other. The fact that it's 300 foot in the, spit it out, 300 foot up in the air doesn't matter. You've still got to use composition, skill and light. So yeah, I'm going to hopefully use the drone a lot more in future. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. We did get little fleeting moments of moody light, but they were very short-lived, to be honest. This one on the screen here, I was actually pretty pleased with how this come out in the end. Although when I was shooting it, I couldn't really get away from the feeling that I was in the wrong place. Now, the composition itself, I think, works pretty well. But it was just one of those where it felt like a bit of a near miss. The light was great, but I think I maybe could have done a little bit better there. And then to finish the trip, we actually, the last 3 days were absolutely grey skies. I mean, I mentioned earlier in the video that we'd planned this walk out to a secluded bay, but we ended up in the end having to completely change plans, because we had a reasonable first shoot at Luscantire, but the forecast for later that evening was a really good one. And Dave, who had been shooting some stuff in the dunes, really wanted to go back. And to be fair, I think I wanted another crack at it as well. So on the promise of this really good forecast, we ended up going back to Luscantire. So I'll pick up the video back at the beach. So folks, I'm having a little bit of a struggle here, which you would find hard to believe on possibly one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, but I'm having a little struggle. We've got a high tide, well, an incoming tide at the minute, which is a little bit problematic, because you kind of want to shoot this beach on a receding tide, where obviously the patterns have been left by the tide going back into the sea. But at the minute it's a very clean beach, there's not really many patterns to work with, and I'm really trying to work on a sort of ultra minimal composition here. We've got this little patch of water that's sort of glistening on the sand here, and I'm just trying to fit this into the frame where we've got a little bit of layering. Every now and again the light's popping out and we're getting little bits of light on the waves as they're cresting onto the shore here, and then we've got the beautiful Harris Hills covered in snow in the distance, which at the minute are getting a lot of light, but I'm just waiting for those little periods where I'm getting light on the foreground as well, just to give it that layering pattern. Just varying the exposure lengths anywhere between sort of 10 and 20 seconds. I just want to flatten that water out and keep it nice and minimal. So yeah, not bad. Not bad. See, that right there is exactly why making these videos in these sort of conditions is an absolute nightmare. squall just come through there. It's still here now, but you can just see from this little bit of drone footage that getting the rainbow and then trying to marry up doing the shooting, filming the rainbow, trying to do a piece to camera while the rainbow's there, just not happening basically. So hopefully you'll forgive me if I'm talking you through this after the fact. Same composition, but that rainbow was very, very brief, maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds, something like that. So I've just had to grab it. So I'll put it on the screen for you here, but some lovely soft light now drifting across the hills, whereas before it was a little bit harsh. And every now and again these rainbows keep popping out, but I think we're going to move on to somewhere different because I think the tide for this beach is wrong. Well, saying wrong, it's just not optimal basically. So we're going to try and find something different. So I'll catch up with you in a bit at the next location. Hopefully this squally stuff keeps coming through and we can maybe see some more rainbows. Okay folks, you join me at a little bit of a, well, probably plan C. The last time you saw me was down at Luskintyre and we were planning on doing a little walk out to a secluded bay, but as is typical in the Scottish Highlands, the weather has had other plans, and the last day and a half we've basically been stuck in the house taking shelter. So we've had to have a little bit of a change of approach, and this afternoon has been the first chance that we've had to get back out really. So we're down here at Stac of Phris, I think that's how you pronounce it, to shoot sunset, and it's looking pretty promising, to be honest with you. It's sort of 50-50 at the minute whether we're going to get any light and colour, but it's a lot better than the grey misery that we've been looking at for the past day or so. I'll be honest with you though folks, I've been struggling to get going on this trip. I don't know whether it's just one of those things, but the weather we've just been on the edge every single shoot we've been out of really good conditions, but they've not quite come off. Whereas last year's trip was very flat, but the light was predictable, so you could plan a little better. So we've, for the past 4 or 5 days, just been sort of chasing our tails a little bit, and just been having a little bit of bad luck. But yeah, that's landscape photography. If it was easy, you know, it wouldn't keep you coming back. So anyway, I'll talk you through what we're doing over here. Now this is a pretty well shot location, but I've not actually been here myself, so I thought this would be a good chance to get out and have a look at it. It's a little bit dicey this evening. I've just turned away from the wind because yeah, it's a little bit windy, and I don't want to get too close to the edge because it's yeah, it's a fair drop down to the sea. So yeah, anyway, I'll walk you over here and you can just have a look what we're doing. We've got about an hour till sunset, and it's one of those again, it's like 50-50 whether the light's going to get out or not, but you've got to be in it to win it and all that. But I'll talk you through this composition. Okay, I'll just sit here because I don't really want to bother Dave while he's trying to compose his shot, and also it's a little bit better because I'm out of the wind here. So yeah, that shot I've got set up over there. I am actually pretty close to the edge there. I'm just having to be very careful. This is going to be quite a complex one because shooting at an extreme wide angle, very close to the foreground. We've got a high dynamic range scene, which is probably going to require a bracket, but also I'd like to do a longer exposure just to soften some of the sea down there, because ideally, I guess when you come here, you probably want sort of stormy seas where the waves are bashing up the side of the cliff, but it's one of those where it's not really calm, but it's not particularly stormy either. It's still breezy up here because obviously you don't want to get too close to the edge, but I'm using a 6-stop filter, and I'm doing about a 10 to 15 second exposure just to smooth out the water. So we've got sort of 3 elements there of a focus stack, a bracket and a long exposure to try and fit in, so it's going to be a bit of a fiddly one in post, but yeah, hopefully I should be able to manage it all right. But right now we're just waiting for this light to, well, I don't think the light's going to pop out now. It looks like there's a fair sort of thick bank of cloud on the horizon, but there is a lot of high cloud, so we may get a little bit of colour right at the death here, but even so, absolutely spectacular location this. We actually called in at the Callanish Stones on the way here. I've never seen those either, and I'll put a picture on the screen here of it. Nothing more than a record shot really, but nice to see anyway. It is Den behind us, he's here as well, and hopefully we'll get a nice shot here at sunset. Right folks, unfortunately we're having to cut the trip short because, as you can see behind me, it's really come in. The forecast for the rest of the day, this is the last day we're here, and I mean you can't see 300 yards in front of you across the bay here, and it's forecast just absolute grey misery with cloud down to your knees for the rest of the day. So we're gonna get a head start on the way back and get away a little bit earlier. It's been a tricky trip in that we've just seemed to have just missed the really good conditions all the time. We've put ourselves in the right positions, but just hasn't quite happened. But it's been fantastic to be up here anyway. It's never a wasted trip. It's always, as I say, a pleasure to be here. Just absolutely fantastic landscape, and I've got a few half reasonable images anyway. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. So I'll catch you on the next one, and I'll be out back in the Lake District, I would say, in the next video. If I've got any more images from this trip that I haven't showed you already, I'll put them up at the end here. But take care, and I'll see you later.